The UNESCO expressed deep concern over the looting and destruction of the Malawi National Museum in the Upper Egyptian city of Minya, and the destruction of several monuments of religious importance, including churches, mosques in Egypt as well, and in several parts, including Fayoum and Cairo. Joining us this morning to shed more light on these events, this unfortunate events, is our dear guest, Mr. Bassam Shamma, member of the Historical Society. Thank you so much for being with us this morning, sir.
Thank you for having me.
So, in the very beginning, when it comes to what we have seen in Malawi Museum, it is something not unfortunate, but I cannot express my feelings, or I can't describe it. I can't find a word to describe what we have seen in this museum.
One think of words like catastrophic, crisis. It is actually unbelievable, but it happened. It's on the land of reality. It's, as the French would say, claquette, third time, fourth time, fifth time. This has been repeated.
I have been to that museum. It was...
Isn't it the most amazing? It's the biggest building of a museum all over Ilmenia, Governorate. Not only that it takes parts in Ilmenia itself as the city of Ilmenia, but you're talking about a governorate that includes Bani Hassan with its 39 carved tombs hewn off the rocks on one row, the top of the mountain. This is a place that I've been doing for like almost 8 years with the tourists and with our groups, and we used to climb, and it is the most fascinating place that you can ever see in your life. This is not only monuments that you see, this is a place where you can see the mountain and then the green pastures and green fields and the most rarest birds ever around the area, and then the River Nile on its widest part, and then the other side of Ilmenia. This is out of this world. We are talking about records on the walls left by the Middle Kingdom, ancient Egyptians, people who didn't only rule as nomarchs. They did not only were governors and they were mayors, but they were important people in the history of Egypt, because they left us designs and they left us scenery.
We can see right now on the screen.
Exactly. And look, I mean, this is one of the pictures, some of the pictures that I brought. This is actually, this is interesting. The animal that I got you here looks like a gazelle. This is actually an oryx. An oryx is a type of the antelopes. And why did I bring the oryx here in Ilmenia? Because this place that we're talking about today, its logo in ancient Egypt was the oryx, was this beautiful animal, which means that in Ilmenia there used to be natural wildlife that used to live in the ancient Egyptians. We're talking Malawi, we are talking the Malawi Museum, which is the greatest museum in Ilmenia. We're talking the greatest collection, over 1,000 pieces, some of which, of course, as we can see in the pictures, were damaged because it was heavy for them to loot. So I'm going to damage what I can't loot. And that needs study in the character of this person who enters this museum. A thief is a thief, and we know about him. He's a guy who gets in, he does something which is illegal to sell this stuff to get illegal money. So that is understandable, wrong, but understandable. I can understand, I can deal with it psychologically and by the law of the nation. But for you to enter, and because I couldn't lift this thing to take it with me, so I throw it to break it, that needs study, that needs an explanation, that needs to sit with those people. Not only to take them and throw them in prisons, no, to sit with those people and to study why they do that. I personally think, because we don't know who entered till now, who entered this museum more than once in one day. And there are still question marks. I mean, there are still question marks. For example, if you go to Malawi, you've been to Malawi, you will know that the police station is not far away from the museum. Now, we talked here a million times about protection, about security, about cameras.
And I think the location allows more control on the museum.
And it's on the main, it's not far away from the main street, as you can see. It's a nice building. It's an amazing collection from Tun al-Jabal, an amazing collection from Al-Ashmunin, an amazing collection from the Middle Kingdom. Akhenaten with his Amarna. There is an amazingly looking statue of a princess from the Amarna period. The Amarna period is one of the rarest periods in our history, rarest in the form of its production. Now, you ask me, is this important? Is this more important than other things? I'll tell you yes. Because if you put a statue coming from the 18th dynasty and a statue comes from the 9th dynasty, for example, both of them are, to me, are the most precious. And you cannot reverse this fact. But to go out of Egypt and to start to sell this stuff in the market of robbery, in the market of traffic, of monuments traffic, the 18th dynasty will sell more expensive.
Mr. Bassam, I have a question. Was the looting of the museum systematic? I mean, did they know what they were doing? Did they know what they are looking after?
This very same question we were asked 29th when the Egyptian Museum was declared safe. 28th at night, 2011, the Egyptian Museum were looted. We all know that. But the authority came out next day and they said the Egyptian Museum is safe and nothing happened. But this is exactly the same question we kept on asking ourselves, especially when we knew that the first 18 pieces which were declared robbed and looted from the Egyptian Museum in 2011 were from, as I noticed, from the 18th dynasty. So this person who took those things,
He wants to continue the collection.
did he know about the 18th dynasty? This is, plus you would like to confirm that the 18th dynasty is the most expensive of all, the most expensive monuments. Now, did we know that there will be looting? Of course, there is a great deal of lack of security. There is no security whatsoever that I would expect in a day like so, knowing that Egypt will have revolts everywhere. Now, why are we repeating the same mistake again? Number one. Number two, we asked what happened to the 160 cameras or more in the Egyptian Museum in Cairo. Where is this documented event? We didn't see that. We didn't see who looted. I want to know this guy because I want to know him. I want to see him while he's heading towards the monument to take it. Is he looking for something or is he taking anything and he's leaving? Or is he leaving this and going to that one? Is there a target or were there a target? Now, you compare this to Malawi. Malawi over 1,000 pieces. Then, as usual, some pieces start to return in the most oblivious, dramatic, mysterious way. Why are you leaving pieces beside the museum? Indeed, if a thief would like to take this stuff and sell it and then he fails in selling it, why is he returning to the museum and put it right beside?
Which pieces he left?
The pieces themselves were given as a figure, but they didn't tell us the nature of the pieces that was returned, but in some pictures and some photos. Now, I would like, for example, to know if the statue of the daughter of Akhenaten was returned.
We're talking about Amarna because this is the most important. I'm very much interested in the arts and the architecture of the Amarna period.
It's a beautiful statue. It's an amazingly well-carved statue coming from a very important part of our history. So all of these questions should be, and I'm saying, okay, what's done is done, and the harm is done. Now, what are we trying to do is, there are more museums in other places. Museums that you didn't hear of. There are museums in the oasis. There are, beside the museums, there is something else called the storage houses. Storage houses are amazingly important because they do have lots of things. This morning, a friend of ours from the Egyptian Antiquity Organization wrote something about looting in Mitrahina again. So we would just return 3 pieces from Mitrahina's looting. And Mitrahina is back again to being looted as a part of news I heard from a friend of mine this morning. So, or read. So what I'm trying to say here is this. If Malawi Museum is a museum which included things like the Middle Kingdom stuff, Greek stuff, Roman stuff, also from other parts of our history. We found coffins being destroyed. Coffins with beautiful colored hieroglyphs and beautiful colored inscriptions and so on. So are we gonna still think, okay, we are going to tell? And then the authority came out and said something very, very nice, which is, if you return the stuff, we're gonna give you a prize. That actually, we were asking for that long time ago. Let the people get encouraged to return stuff, or even if you find it while you are digging in your land. Sometimes a peasant farmer is digging in his land, he finds a monument. This is a country over a country, as we know Egypt. So encourage him to return this stuff by giving him a prize. And that happened, I think probably in the 90s or in the 2000s. That happened once or twice. We heard about that and then it stopped, it seems. obviously, because the question is, where are we going to get the money from? But you can take this stuff and make a museum and take a % of the museum and give it as a prize. Try to get this in a correct way. Because Middle Egypt, if indeed you are putting, I would say, yes, put a tank in front of each museum in this country. It's worth it. It's worth to put a tank in front of each museum. And there is one last thing I would like here to express. What happened to us? I mean, what happened to us? What happened to the Egyptians? I'll compare two cases. Remember what happened when the museum here was looted? What happened? The Egyptians went without anybody.
They formed human shields around the museum.
Human shields without, and I know friends of mine who did, and without anybody directing. They went in and they just made this. And they were attacked and they were harmed and everything. And they stood there. I'm saying, why did that happen in Ilmenia? Because truly, psychologically, we have to study things like that. So that it doesn't come again and
But maybe
and
because
return.
it was in the middle of the events. At Tahrir Square, for example.
I mean, it was said that there was some, I don't know, movement in Malawi and there was some revolts and stuff like that, and it happened in the middle. So I'm saying it's exactly the same idea. The same timing. There was some activities, let's say, in the streets in 2011. There were some activities in 2013. So why did not the Egyptians go down and make some shields around the Malawi Museum? This is another thing that we have to study again.
Dr. Bassam Shamma, member of the Historical Egyptian Society, thank you so much for being with us. We have so many things to talk about. I hope you can give us some of your time next week, next Thursday, if it's possible. Yes. Thank you, sir. And this brings us to the end of this morning's edition of Breakfast Show. Thank you for joining us, and thank you for being with us on Breakfast Show.